Welcome to the Soul Tribe Podcast. The Soul Tribe Podcast was created to help you navigate through the world of spirituality, wellness, and self-development in an easy, grounded, and relatable way. We break down everything from the Akashic Records, manifesting, spirituality, and so much more. We want to help expand your boundaries and bring the spiritual world to you in a fun and easy way. Get ready to be inspired with tips, tools, and easy to digest information. Let's do this.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Soul Tribe Podcast. This week we're going to talk about surrendering and releasing control and just letting things go or be or flow towards the way that they're supposed to. And this came up because we're finding a lot of trigger points for people from both sides of the spectrum of people that believe this and that, and those getting kind of like pushing each other to do what the other person or the other party or the other side thinks is best. So I think everyone on earth is actually going through this with different topics and on different sides. So I really do think this is a worldwide thing, no matter where you are in the spectrum of belief systems. I really do think that this is, at some point it's impacting you, whether you're the one that's being triggered or someone's being triggered towards you. It's highly probable that I think everyone at some point in this year, even in this month, has gone through that. So that's why we've decided to do this episode. I included myself in the package of people that need to surrender a little bit. I don't know about you, Lo?
Yeah. I mean, for me, surrendering also, I see it in the context of spirituality and also in the context of like that victim role, right? Because we talk a lot about the victim role and all that. So I see it like when we can surrender to the things, and this doesn't mean you're ignoring them or not paying attention to them. It's, I surrender to what's happened in the past. I surrender to what's happening right now. There are things I cannot control. I need to let go of the control and trying to make things go in one way or the other, and realize that the only control that you do have is being able to get a full perspective when you take a step back of the situation and what you're feeling, your emotions, all of that, and being able to make decisions moving forward from there. But not from a place of control, from a place of surrender, from a place of whatever's going to happen is for my higher good. I've done everything I could up till now. I've done all the healing I could do, and I'm here. I'm open. My energy's open, and I surrender. It's such a, it kind of reminds me a little bit of vulnerability, because you feel really vulnerable when you surrender, I think, at moments. It depends on what you're talking about, of course. But to me, it feels a little bit like, wow, I surrender and I'm a little bit vulnerable, because controlling feels like this energy of like, I think our ego makes us think this, right? It's if I'm in control of my emotions, I'm in control of my actions, I'm in control of this, and this, then I'm okay. Then nothing bad's going to happen, or I'm safe. And that's not the case. We really don't have control over a lot more than our own emotions and our reactions. And a lot of things in our life that do happen to us, you know, they're going to happen anyway, regardless of how much control and how much, you know, we want things to go a specific way, right?
It's funny because when I think of surrendering, it doesn't pop up for me to think of feeling vulnerable. I rarely feel vulnerable.
Really? I do.
The only time I can think of off the top of my head right now on the spot is towards the end of my divorce.
Yeah.
And I remember getting panic attacks because I never knew what was the next story they were going to tell me about what my, at the time, husband had done behind my back. And it was just like, yeah, it was, I felt very vulnerable because I was like, okay, what is he going to do to me now? Like, yeah, but that's the only thing I can think of right now.
Yeah, I get that. But at the same time, it's like, what? Going into like, because I think this is a great point that you just made with like panic attacks and anxiety, right? For me, that was a huge thing for I think releasing control, having years and years of panic attacks, anxiety attacks, and just knowing that I had absolutely no control of when it was going to happen. Although I knew there were moments when they tended to happen more, but it was just such like a humbling thing, right? It's like I can be in the middle of feeling the most comfortable at home, sitting on the couch watching a movie, and all of a sudden I'm getting a panic attack.
I remember you used to get them
really
like on
makes you
buses
surrender.
and stuff. You wouldn't want to take the bus.
Oh, I didn't want to hang out around people that were drinking alcohol or being out. Like, I would still do all of that anyway. I never really stopped myself.
But what was that trigger? What was that?
I don't know. It was just fear. I don't know. There's a lot of different underlying fears that I need to work through still.
But
I think
it just went
out Yeah, that was when we moved from New York to Uruguay. A week in, I started having panic attacks. I didn't know what they were at the time. I just felt like I was shaking and I'd start crying and I didn't know what was going on. And it was just kind of like, oh, well, I'm just scared. I thought it was just like I had a fever or something because I was like convulsing. But, you know, a year later, I think I got diagnosed and they're like, oh, you're depressed. You're going through something. You're having panic attacks and like take these medicines, which did absolutely nothing. And the moment I actually started going to therapy and surrendering to speaking and not repressing everything that was inside of me and feeling like I had control over my emotions and control over everything, that's the moment I started healing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I guess anxiety is attached to that because for me, anxiety in this scenario that I had described before, for me, anxiety was, what am I about to hear that's going to make me feel so sad that I won't be able to stop crying for the whole like night? It was like, I'll remember the second someone would say to me, even if it was just like anybody, even my boss would say, hey, Lucille, we need to talk. Anyone could just come up to me, like, yeah, we need to talk. Oh, can we just go over there and talk? My heart would be like, bah, 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 bah.
That's how I feel now all the time. Still.
Why?
I don't know. Things trigger me in this way. I think it's like my nervous system. I don't know. Like if I feel like I've done something wrong or like, I don't know, especially if I look at my business and stuff, I'm like, oh shit, did I do this right? Did this come out okay? And then if someone's like, oh, can we chat about, I'm like, oh my God, I did something wrong. And then I'm already like, I'm already having like anxiety about it.
Yeah. Is there a way
like
is there a technique that you've tried doing that you feel it might work, or are you still trying to look into that?
Just like breath work and just take a step back. And actually, I this morning I recorded my channeled message for Patreon, and I actually was talking a little bit about, self-love and intuition and a bunch of stuff. And I've learned to take a step back and wait, because I think that's something that it's like surrender. Like for me, it was like someone's sending me an email or saying something, I have to respond right away. And that's me like taking action. So I've gone more into the surrender mode where it's like, okay, they just sent an email. I don't have to respond now. Or this person just messaged me. I don't have to respond now. And I'm triggered by it. I'm going to just take a step back, chill out, do my breath work, or just look inward and figure out why this is triggering me before I can respond, because I'm not going to respond from a place of clarity. I'm going to respond from a place of being triggered and fearful and probably not really understanding things. And then you start reading between the lines and it's like, wait, maybe they didn't mean anything by it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a technique for me, like stopping, not going right into action mode, just taking a step back, even if it's an hour, half an hour, a day, and being able to like give myself the space to be able to understand my emotions and not react right away. Because then I'm not reacting from a place of heart-centered, right? It's from a place of fear.
Yeah. You got to find something that I don't know. This is for me, actually. I'm about to say this, but it works for me. Like, for example, lately I've been submerged in the angelic energy because I'm getting so many angelic healings to do. And it's perfect excuse, because if it was for me, I wouldn't be like, oh, let me go do 3, 4, 5 hours, in a few days, right? Of angelic healing. Like I wouldn't do that on myself. But now I'm finding myself having the opportunity to have so many angelic sessions because of that angelic package promo that I've been doing. And so now I have the perfect excuse to be submerged in that energy, because I call them in, I feel their energy, I'm doing the prayers for the individual and whatever they're asking to be assisted with, and I'm feeling it from my side differently than the person that's being assisted, but I'm feeling it, and I just leave it. I just leave the session going, great.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nice.
So it's keeping me pretty calm. I think the agenda behind the reason why they wanted me to do this promotion is, of course, because they want to have more individuals receiving energy, and because it helps the collective in general, it helps Earth in general, it helps the person and other people around them, and also because I know that I also have something to do with that. Obviously, I'm on that path with them, and I really feel like it has a purpose for me as well to be in that session, in so many sessions, for so many hours, right?
Yeah, for sure. And then that brings me to the topic of like surrendering in relation to spirituality, and just thinking about a lot of my path with the Akashic Records and, breath work and meditation, and how we can't be in this energy of ego and control when we're in that kind of field, right? It's in order to receive and download and connect with our soul, our guides, our masters, our beings of light. It's the only way we can do that is if we completely surrender to expectations, to what that needs to look like, that we think it needs to look like, how those messages are going to come through. Like, surrender is something that it took me a long time to really understand. And I think the moment that I fully realized I couldn't compare myself to others, or you, like I had you as a huge example, right? It's like you've been doing this for way longer than me. And it was like, it needs to look like that, or it needs to look like how my first Akashic Records reader,
that's
the person
what I
I
was
used
going
to
to
go
say
to.
Like, I remember thinking about the reader that read me many, many, many years ago.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, wow, she's amazing. Like, I'll never be that amazing.
And I got a reading from her the other day, and I was talking about that the other day. And it's funny because I was like, wow, my readings are so different from hers.
Yeah.
I go into such different energy, and I'm like, and that's okay. And I started to maybe second guess myself a little. I'm like, am I doing this right? I'm like, no, this is totally fine. Everybody's going to be a completely different reader. And I've surrendered to that.
And you and I are totally different.
Yeah, very different. Even the methods we use sometimes, and the fact that I use flowers with mine, and it feels right, and it's like part of it now.
I used to
really
do flowers
weird.
with mine too, though.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's part of my path. And I surrendered to that. It was like someone suggested it, like Patricia, who's my teacher, also the astrologer. You guys know, she's been on the podcast. She's my mentor. She's my teacher. And she's like, I think you're really going to like this. Why don't you try this course? I was like, okay. And I had tried flowers for many, many years. I love them, but I surrendered to it. I'm like, let me just give this a try. And then I did one course, I did another, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is going to help so many people. I am so grateful for this. But you had to surrender to do that. Like, I couldn't have just been like, use my mind and my ego. My ego was like, yeah, whatever, Lorena, you're not going to do that. Why are you going to do that? You're not even going to be good at it. You know what I mean? It's like, surrender to the signs too that you're receiving from the universe. Because it feels like a lot of times everything's pointing in a direction, but our mind and our ego is telling us to go another way. And we're like hell bent on going in this direction and this goal and things to look a certain way, that if we don't surrender to the signs and what our like guts telling us, we're never going to fully be on our path. We're going to keep straying 1 and 2 and 3 times until like eventually you're going to be hit in the head with it and you'll be like, oh, now this makes sense, right? So why waste time?
Yeah. Yeah. The one thing that the masters are saying to me is that we shouldn't confuse releasing control and surrendering. We shouldn't confuse that with not organizing. So we should still, keep things organized, project and say, this is what I want. Okay, this is how I think I'm going to do it. But surrender it to the universe and say, this is how I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to organize my things. But when things don't go that certain way, or maybe something goes a little awry, maybe that's possibly a reason, and maybe it's supposed to go down another alley. It's supposed to go down a different way. But that doesn't mean oh, I'm going to surrender, or just throw the papers up in the air and say, yeah, well, the earth will figure it out for me. Like, that's not surrendering, right? You still have to do your job as it is.
You have to take action.
Yes.
You have to project, like you said, you have to create goals. You need to do your everyday things. It's like an example they're giving me is like, okay, I want to lose 10 pounds, but you're sitting on the couch and eating cookies and not exercising. Like, you're going to need to take action, but you're going to take inspired action. You're going to connect with an activity you like. You're going to take little steps every day until one day it just becomes second nature. And something's going to pop up and you'll be like, wow, I found this diet I really like, and I've started to eat like vegan or keto, and this feels really great. And I've connected with that, and it's helped me spiritually. It's like, you have to surrender to the process in that sense. But I agree with you. And that's what I was saying before. It's like, that's not you sitting back and like putting your feet up and being like, okay, universe, just bring it to me. Doesn't work that way. Maybe sometimes you're saying, but most times, not really.
What I find really, really funny is that what comes to mind while we're talking about this is Eat, Pray, Love. Do you remember the movie where she says that joke where, like, I think it was somebody was praying and saying, please, 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 let me win the lottery or something, was it? And then like the person wasn't buying their ticket, and she's like, and now I get it. Now I have 2 tickets. And her ticket was obviously to go on vacation to those places. But that reminds me of that, like, yeah, please, please let me win the lottery. Yeah, if you don't freaking enroll in the lottery, how is that going to even happen anyways?
Yeah, buy a ticket and choose some numbers, and then maybe you'll win.
Yeah.
But you can't if you're sitting at home and not even buying a ticket.
Yeah. I also believe, like, if we were to talk about money and manifesting, I think that, let's say that you have a goal to make, I don't know, I want to make this year 50,000. I want my job to give me 50,000, right? But so I think that you shouldn't put it down and say, I want my job to give it to me 50,000. I think that you should, I know that there's 2 manifestation methods. One of them is that you're very specific and very detailed. I want this much. I want it from this place. I'm going to get it in this way, right? The way that the masters have shown me is a bit different. So that's why we're always having issues with the manifestation techniques. Like, for me, it's you ask for the 50, you open a bunch of different portals. Like, you're going to be organized. You're not going to be lazy and sit back, like you said. You're going to continue to be active. Make sure you're doing what you're here to do. If you're here to help people, help people. If you're here to, whatever.
Be purposeful. Yeah. Intentional.
So align with yourself while you're still trying to manifest that and ask for it. But make sure you feel deserving of it, blah, 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 blah. But don't get stuck on the way you think the universe has to give it to you, because then you're blocking supposedly all the other ways, and they could have given it to you sooner.
I have a really good example of this. So I think this was before I even became an Akashic record reader for other people. I had my hypnosis sessions with Becca, which I've talked about here many times. So if you haven't heard about that, probably listen to some of the beginning episodes. When I started feeling like I could manifest, it was just like this aha moment I had with one of the sessions. I was like, this is great. I can manifest anything. And I remember I was journaling every single day. I'd wake up at 5 a.m., journal, because I was going to therapy once a week. So in between my sessions, I would journal every day, my emotions, what was going on, and manifestations and stuff. From that day forward, I was like, oh, well, I'm going to write down what I want, and kind of just like connect with that. And so I said, I want someone to buy me a coffee. Like, I just want a cup of coffee.
Just like test a nice coffee. Yeah.
See, it was little things. I was just trying to because it's like you're working your manifestation muscle, right?
You have to start trusting your ability.
Yeah. So I had it written down and everything. And I think 2 days later, or the week later, I don't remember the exact time frame, I go to my desk at work, and I had this voucher for $50 for a coffee shop right next to my work. I was like, wow, that's way more than a cup of coffee. That was like a lot of coffees, because I think each coffee was like $3 or something. So I was like, see, if I had gotten stuck on that idea, I was like, I just want a coffee. I don't know how that's going to look. Like,
if you're going to say, like, it had to be from a person while you were in a cafe, like, yeah, it wouldn't have
And maybe
worked.
a part of me was expecting someone to be like, hey, do you want a coffee? And that might have happened, but it was better, and it could be better, and it could be more, right? So that's something that came up in my reading the other day. She was saying to me, watch your words. Be careful with your words, because you are co-creating at every single minute of your life. And it's like, if I already downgrade things or downplay things and and limit myself, then how am I ever going to know my full potential? Or how am I fully going to connect with what I can possibly receive from the universe and what I really want and desire? We have to be very intentional with our words and our thoughts too.
Yeah. That's a really good example, actually. You probably told the story, but I didn't remember it.
I don't know if I ever told it on the podcast, but it just came to mind.
I've talked about my house example. That house that sold in Cayman. I talked about that house example, but I think it's a good time to
Yeah, that story's crazy. I'm sorry. That's even crazier than mine. Mine was just a stupid voucher.
But I wasn't trying to manifest that. I just knew it was going to happen. It was different. Like, I didn't realize I was trying to manifest it. I just felt like this is my destiny and there's no other option. So obviously, fast forward, I'm getting divorced. Well,
or rewind, you mean?
Rewind. Fast forward the story of like why I decided to leave. Like, I'm getting divorced, I'm leaving. That's what I meant. Yeah. I'm getting divorced, I'm leaving, and I don't have that much money in my pocket. And I'm leaving with a baby. I don't have that much money in my pocket. I was waiting for my next paycheck to come through. It was going to come through after I had already left Holland. The reason why I left before I got it was because I had found a cheaper flight. And because conveniently that cheaper flight took me and I arrived the night before the course that I wanted to do. So there was a bunch of reasons. So I basically left with enough to pay the hotel room for I think it was 4 nights or something super crazy.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, for 4 nights for me, the baby, and my friend who was going to be the babysitter while I was in the course. Meanwhile, I was going to be getting my paycheck in those days. Of course, that's assuming that I would be able to use the ATM, that my paycheck was going to go through fine. Like, anything could have gone wrong. And I knew then, once I got the paycheck, that's it. I had no more money coming in. I had no more job. But I knew that my house was going to sell. Like, I had told Salvino, my ex-husband, I told Salvino that, okay, I'm going to be leaving. I'm done with this shit. I'm done with you treating me like crap. I deserve better than this. I'm amazing, and you're losing me, and F off, whatever. But this is after he cheated on me a lot. So obviously I had to get to that point where I'm like, I'm done.
Of course, yeah.
And so I was standing in my value. I think that's what helped the whole process.
That helps so much. Right? This is such a huge part of the process.
I was broken. I was crying.
I have another story after this.
Okay. I mean, I was broken. I was crying. I was going through the emotions, but I'm like, I'm done. And so we had a house that we owned together as well. And I said, we're putting my house on the market. It's going to sell. And then I went to a friend, and she had a friend that had a real estate company there in Cayman. So I took it to her and I said, listen, I'm leaving. I'm getting divorced. This is the house, blah, blah, blah. And a guy shows up from Canada, I remember. A guy shows up from Canada who was actually looking for a house, was interested in it. And he wasn't even able to see it in person because he was in Canada still. So he literally saw it. The realtor took him around with the Skype camera around the house, right? We cleaned the house. Wow. We left it impeccable, made it look as amazing as we could, right? It was a lot of work because I was making that house look as amazing as I could every time someone came to see it, in between working between 16 and 20 hours a day. So it was like nuts. It was nuts. And so I remember the realtor said, well, we think that it looks like he might go through. He wants to do one more walk through the house, and he wants somebody to come inspect it. And then, and so I'm assuming that he's going to like it the next time he walks through. I'm assuming that the inspector's not going to say too many bad things about anything, right? Yeah. But I'm like, it's going to sell. And I remember talking to you about it, and you and Joe are like, Lucia, you're nuts. You're going to go. You're crazy. You're going with a baby. You barely have any money. What happens if the house doesn't sell? And Joe's like, who of course is into finances, goes, Lou, it's going to go through a mortgage process. It's going to take you months to get that money. I was like, I don't know. I'm going to get it. It's fine. And you're like, and he's like, even if you have to wait for the bank to approve it, you have to wait for the guy to decide to want it, his lawyers and the bank and more lawyers, and I'm like, it's going to be fine. I know it's going to sell.
It could take months sometimes. Yeah. And
you both were trying to say this to me. I'm like, no, it's going to happen. It's fine. It's fine. Of course, mom and dad.
That was exactly. You were like, no, I know it's going to happen. You were like, there's no doubt in your. I was like, how is she? I don't get it.
I don't know what happened to me. I don't know. I just knew it. I knew it. Life couldn't throw me more shit.
Yeah. You trusted.
I fully trusted, and I fully knew it. And it actually happened faster than I even expected, because I actually thought it's going to go through mortgage, but somehow we're going to get some sort of a deal where we'll get some cash. I don't know how it was going to happen, but I knew that I was going to get the money quick enough. He ended up hurrying us up because he's like, I'm moving to Cayman next week. I don't want to move in a hotel. I want to move into the house that I own. So he sped it up from his side. He wanted us to do it even quicker. So we actually had to get out of the house. And he said, I want to pay cash and I want to pay it to you next week. I want this done now. I want this deal done now. So while I was flying to Holland, I think those 3 days where supposedly I was going to wait and get my paycheck, I actually ended up getting my paycheck and the house money. Like Salvino had the check and then he deposited it in my bank for me, his half and my half, right? And like 4 days after that it was all there.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Literally. Yeah. But what you're saying about standing in your worth, I think that one thing to highlight with your story, I think, is really that it's trusting your gut, your intuition, and leaning and like surrendering. You surrendered, like, there's no more I can do. I've fixed up the house. I've made this decision to leave. This house is going to sell. And if it doesn't, like, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to work. I'm going to make this work. So I think when we go into things, especially if we're trying to manifest something, into that energy, really leaning back and leaning into that I think that really does help. And that's where recently as well, I felt like remember the other week I was saying I was going through something and really being tested, and it was my worth being tested. And the moment that I stood up for myself and said, no, this is what I'm worth, this is what I am going to do, and this is how I'm going to work. Not only did I get another client, but, and this is my virtual assistant stuff, not only did I get another client to really just a day later confirm that they wanted to come on board with me, but that other person ended up still asking for work from me. Maybe not as many hours, but you know, it was a lesson for me to stand up for my worth and not let somebody else dictate that, because that's what I've been doing my whole life. And I can't continue to do that anymore. So it's like the universe will test you constantly, right? And this is where I think a lot of this stuff, I also started to understand it when I was doing Lacey Phillips' work, the To Be Magnetic stuff, where she talks a lot about tests and stuff like that. I think a lot of you probably know who she is and you've listened to her podcast as well. It's like you're going to be tested because the universe wants you to know that you're ready.
I totally believe in the test thing. Totally believe in the test thing.
100%. Yeah. It's part of the process, and you should expect it, I think.
It's unless like, you're totally in your worth. Here's a load of crap right here. How are you going to react to that? I freaking surrender again. All right, okay.
Yeah. But with that surrender, it's like you're a great example of that. You did everything you need to do up to that point, and you made your decisions. You moved. You did everything. There was really literally nothing else you could do. It was just trust and surrender. That's it.
Yeah.
It has to be part of the process. And the same thing, like going back to the readings and opening your own Akashic records or any type of spiritual practice that we have, be it meditation, breathwork, we need to surrender to that too and realize that if we don't, it's like we're using our ego to connect and it's not the same. And we're not fully going into that practice with an open heart and with an open kind of energy. It might still serve us. Of course it might still serve us, but is it giving us what we need it to give us? Maybe not. Maybe not.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the whole creating thing. I mean, that's the reason why I talk up against so many agendas and stuff, because they want us to disconnect from our higher self because we're so freaking powerful that it's really, really not convenient for them, for us to wake up and go, wow, I'm all this, right? I can't be hit by, sickness. I'm going to survive this.
My body can heal itself. I can work on things and empower myself through taking care of my body, my stress, my nutrition.
I'm still trying to get that one,
movement.
Actually.
Yeah, and I think there's something there to your struggle, right? But we have that power, and people are trying to take that power away from us at moments, right? We have to always keep coming back in. So
what the word I would use is they use fear. So
Yeah.
these past 2 years have been fear of dying, fear of your health. Before that, I don't know, there's terrorist attacks, and I don't know,
Wars and
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, there's probably so many you go back, but there's always going to be an agenda being thrown at you because they don't want you to wake up. Because literally, your soul said, "I'm going to sign up for this place called Earth, this boot camp of the soul called Earth, and I'm going to sign up there because I have a huge portion of the incarnated population that's going to vibrate with and push this agenda that's going to challenge me." Right?
mm-hmm.
And I'm either going to fall for it or I'm going to surpass that and find my true self and the power of my true self. And then there's no stopping me.
Literally, yeah. We've been shut down for so long, all of us. I mean, many of us have been awake for years, maybe. I don't know. Maybe some of you listening. But I think the majority of people have been made to feel that they can't do things without other people or without this or without that, and that we aren't powerful. And that's just not true.
Yeah. I'm laughing because what comes to mind is something that comes to mind all the time in my mind when I see something on the news, I go, "Not today, Satan."
Oh my God.
I literally think about it in my mind as a joke, but it helps me because it confirms to me, okay, fine, it can happen to the people that won't accept it, but not with me today, Satan. Sorry, no.
Yeah, I'm not going to buy into your stuff. I'm not going to buy into your story and your beliefs, because those aren't my beliefs. That's it. That's all you have to say, and just believe in yourself. And that's kind of like actually what I talk about on my my channeled stuff for Patreon this month, which is really interesting because I keep feeling this thing of us having to go more inward and listen to our intuition and decide from there and really clear out all the junk and do our work. And that's even part of surrendering. You can surrender, but if you still have these belief systems inside of you that keep telling you you're not good enough and that you can't do this, you can't do that, then you could surrender, but maybe you're still being held back from truly aiming for that thing that is really going to fulfill you and is part of your purpose, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that a really good exercise that I love the release exercise where you like release whatever it is that you say, this no longer suits me, or this belief system. I think that's the first step. But I think the second step is remind yourself of some amazing things that you are or you do or you're capable of. Because we criticize ourselves. Oh, I could have done this better. Oh, I could have done the other better. Oh, blah, blah. And so we're just knocking ourselves down. Like if we need someone to come and uplift us, then we're doomed. Like we need to lift ourselves up, and then that's our energy now. We're lifting ourselves up, and then others will realize that amazingness because we're vibrating
100%.
that belief system, right?
Yeah, we have to set the tone for everything, not somebody else. We need to set that tone with our thoughts, with dealing with our emotions, with looking inward, with listening to our gut and our intuition, and knowing that whatever we choose for ourselves is okay. I always say, as long as you're not hurting somebody else or looking out to do something bad to somebody else, you live your life, you be happy, do what makes you happy. And I think that's where a lot of the surrendering comes in. It's like, I might know certain things, I might understand certain aspects of what's happening in the world right now or what's coming, because we've gotten some interesting messages about that. But I don't want to judge somebody else if they choose to not see that, right?
Yeah.
I want to just let them find their way there. If they want to find it there, they could maybe not. That might not be part of their life here or their process or their incarnation. And that's okay. I have to be okay with that. And I think that's also a big part of surrendering.
I've been struggling
with that.
I've been struggling surrendering that because, I mean, people know that we open the Kesha records, and I can tell you, let's fast forward in 2 or 3 months, and you thought you saw death before. Prepare, man. I see it bad.
Yeah, we see some crazy stuff coming.
And so it's really hard for me to surrender because I see people making decisions that I attach to what I see, what is shown to me, that is that future timeline. And so I think that maybe not the results will be the same for everybody, but the grand majority, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, let's not get into all that. We don't want to like bring the vibe down.
No, and
we'll be doing this more when we do our channel. You don't bring the vibe down when you talk about
realities, Lo. It's a timeline. It's not bringing the vibe down. And we talked about this so many times, we're in a duality. If you can't look at the dark and the light.
No, but I mean, we're talking about surrendering. So.
Yeah, but that's surrendering. I have to surrender to the fact that I think that person over there made their own decision. And I'm possibly worried about them because I care about them, because I worry about them. And so I have to surrender. And in the back of my mind, I truly believe that possibly you're about to encounter a really bad situation in a few months.
Yeah, but that's their decision. That's their life. That's their free will. You can't control that.
I know.
That's where surrender comes in. That's what I mean. That has nothing to do with you. It's like the same way when they say the way you can say something to somebody in the nicest way and the way they react to it. They might react to it in a really shitty way and you feel bad. It's like, no, you own up to how you communicate things, and then people can react in whatever they want. They might be triggered by something you said that you had no idea and you had no intention of doing that to them. And that's the same way, you can give out information and provide feedback, and what you do. And I think it's a great quality you have, but then it's like surrendering needs to be a part of that too. It's like, I did everything I could. Now I surrender. You do what you do you, I do me. You know what I mean?
The problem also is, in my mind, is that once that person, let's say that happens, that scenario does happen, all these people leave, we're the ones having to take responsibility, because every decision you make has a consequence. And so in this case,
or every decision you don't make too.
Yeah, that's right? True. Yeah, and every decision you don't make, both, of course. But in this scenario, let's say that person made or didn't make a decision, and that led to their demise on a mass scale. We're the ones that are gonna have to pick up and survive through all the junk after. So not only am I not happy because I'm worried about that person, and I really believe, I might be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. I don't know. But I really believe that to be true. But also, I'm upset at the fact that you're putting me through having to see you go through that. And the whole scenario in itself, on a mass scale, it's a bunch of people that were trying to help, that are going to have to go through that as well.
That might be part of the process we need to go through as well.
Yeah, it might be.
That's the way I see it, at least what's coming through. It's like, that's controlling.
Not today,
That's
Satan.
Trying to control.
Not today.
It's like, if we try to control and micromanage everything, then we're truly not surrendering.
That's not micromanaging. That's mega no,
it's like people are going to make their own decisions, and whatever happens, there's different timelines, there's different circumstances, there's different things that could come about from all this. But we're here, we're not going to be given something we can't deal with. And it might be part of our path. There might be something we need to learn from that too. I don't know. It's, our brain wants us to be able to control things and things to go a certain way. But what if it does go the way we think, but it's still not right? Something else happens because something needs to go in a specific direction. So we all learn this huge lesson, right?
Well, that's what I was saying in the beginning of the episode. I know that I as well need to learn the surrender.
Yeah, we all do.
I definitely put myself in the category.
Maybe in different aspects, but it's a huge part of our spiritual awakening, the surrendering, for every aspect. And we just need to trust that whatever comes our way, as long as we're taking the inspired action, we're doing, and we're connecting with our desires, then it will come. If we surrender, it will come. Right?
Yeah.
So we got into a lot of manifesting in this episode, which is kind of cool because we haven't really gotten too much into it. I always wanted to kind of tell a few stories of manifestation, but
The thing is, I don't like talking about it because I don't like giving advice about something that I haven't really fully figured out myself yet, or talking about it too much.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think it's cool because I think it shows different aspects that for us are important. The surrendering, the beliefs, the trusting. One day we will do one when we figure it out and we can fully like kind of advise on it, I think. But yeah. So are you still doing your angelic healing
package? Yeah, I'm still doing it. I have half the month already booked. Half the month up to next month. I mean, already booked. I think I might have a few loose days around, but from that point on, I'm going to have less availability because Aurora's coming home from school. Okay. The summer vacation. So I'll have less availability, but I'm still doing it. It's just I'm going to have less of options to give people of when they can. And I'm doing people from like, totally different areas in the world on totally different time zones. So for some people, it's more convenient for me to do it in a morning setting, my morning, and for other people, it's my night. So I'm figuring that out when they email me. But once Aurora's home from school, I'm only going to be able to do my night because I'm going to be with Aurora all day. Okay. So
we'll put the info on the show notes so people can still contact you if they're interested in taking advantage of that. Of that deal.
So it's 3 angelic healing sessions, and it's by a distance, and it's really cool because the archangels and the angelic realm work on you. You also kind of go back and forth with me about what it is that you want to, work on, what you need assistance with, and I add that to the prayer for the session. And yes, I get messages for people as well. Sometimes I see their guides. It depends on the person, but I've actually lately been getting more messages than I was previously. So I think I've been doing so many hours with the angelic healing that I find it still a little difficult to communicate with them. It's not as easy for me as the masters. So I think that's starting to flow a little bit more from practice with them, but their energy is so different.
Yeah. That's cool. That goes to show how when you actually start doing and practicing, you're going to strengthen that skill and that connection.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that goes for anything, guys, right?
Yeah.
I still have my June flower essence, like free flower essence with any Akashic Records reading promo. So I'll put that in the show notes as well. And we'll be back next week with a new episode. So I think that's going to be our 100th episode, isn't it?
The next one? Is it?
Let me double check. Yeah, so this episode's going to be episode 99.
Oh my God, the next one is the 100. We've done 100 episodes. Well, plus the Patreon, but 100 of the podcast episodes. That's huge.
That's huge. Yeah, so we're going to be doing... We already have the idea for the episode for the 100th episode.
Yeah, we're super excited.
So we're excited about that. So we'll see you guys next week with a new episode. And make sure you're following us on social media so we can keep you up to date with everything that's going on. And take care, guys. Have a great week.
Bye, guys. Thank you.